I don't think I've seen such a clear example of undue influence or coercive control in a video done by a creator before. I need to show you guys this, but before I do, I need you to promise me you are not going to attack this creator, go to their page, harass them, anything like that. I promise you no amount of telling somebody that they're in a cult is going to make them actually think they're in a cult. It's something that they have to come to themselves over time, just like they get indoctrinated over time.
Here are 3 things you should know before ever going down an ex-Mormon rabbit hole. Number 1, the church isn't hiding anything. Despite what the critics will tell you, you can learn about all of the sticky parts of the church and church history on the church's website and from current active members.
So not only is this not true at all, this is also a great example of information control. Cults and coercive groups only want you to get information about the group from the group or from current active members. The worst thing that you can do in a cult's eyes is talk to former members of said group. And in fact, one of the best things that you can do when you join a group, if you're worried if it's a cult or anything like that, is you can talk to former members, talk to people who left, ask them why they left, what led to that decision, their experiences in the group, and that will tell you a lot about the group, as will talking to people who are still in it. I am not ex-Mormon, so what I know about this, I only know from ex-Mormon creators, and I encourage you to consume ex-Mormon content and listen to the stories and listen to the things people say, think about the similarities, use critical thinking as you're going through it. But from what I understand, the church has put some information that ex-Mormons have been extremely critical of on their church website and will address certain things, but there's still a ton of things that the church does not address at all in any way or addresses incorrectly. So her facts are not even factual.
Number 2, just like all other content creators, they make more money if their content gets more views and engagement. In this context specifically, this leads to more extreme and inflammatory takes on the church than they might otherwise have to drive you.
This is also a common tactic that I've seen lots of different cults use to discredit former members speaking out. I see Scientology talk about this a lot, and just other cults, not just content creators, but anyone who's been on a documentary. People accuse them of accepting money to go on TV and get notoriety and blah, blah, blah. When most of the time, cult survivors sharing their stories do not get paid, have to relive their trauma, and are often re-traumatized. And in cult survivor media, there's not always a ton of support for them as they're sharing this, trying to bring awareness, trying to help other people going through being re-traumatized for it and not having the resources they need. Not to mention often not having finances that they need because they've devoted their whole life and oftentimes given all of their finances to these cults. I know this is a thing with ex-Mos. I know that the Mormon church has left people extremely financially harmed when they leave and not connected to any friends, any family members that can help them at all. Most cult survivors are not getting paid for the content that they put out, for the stories they share and the trauma they've experienced and are re-experiencing every time they share their story to bring awareness and to try to help somebody else. Some ex-members, cult survivors, content creators like myself do make money and have chosen to make a living, however big or small, off of bringing awareness, educating people on cults, talking about different things, but not all of them are making a ton of money. And the ones that do are very few. And again, the most important thing is that the cult survivors they have on are not getting pieces of that. On top of that, do you know how much money that pro-Mormon content creators make with their trad wife content and even their not directly religious content, but content that makes them extremely popular and makes people want to learn more about who they are and their faith and what they believe, which they happily share in other formats? Do you know how much money those people make? And do you know how many breaks and incentives and things that the Mormon church itself gives to those pro-Mormon, pro-LDS creators? It's a lot. The Mormon church is sketchy. If we're going to talk about how money and power and views play a role in power dynamics and manipulation and inflammatory takes and what is correct or incorrect, I promise you the Mormon church has the upper hand on all of those things, all of those categories, and has way more hordes of money than any individual creator or ex-Mormon could ever even possibly dream of.
Number 3, it is easier to tear something down than it is to build something up. Anyone can kick down a barn, but it takes a good carpenter to build one. Lies are clean and short and eye-catching. The truth has depth and takes time to understand.
Those were all just thought-stopping or thought-terminating cliches, which again is a common thing that happens within cults. Thought-terminating cliche was a term coined by Robert J. Lifton, and it's a cliched phrase that is used to stop further thought or discussion on a topic. It often sounds like wisdom or folk wisdom, but it ultimately prevents deeper analysis or exploration, and they are often used to shut down a discussion or end a debate and avoid any cognitive dissonance that the person might be having. So I find it super interesting that this was her point number 3 and her final point on the topic, because it was folky wisdom sayings that were literally ending the discussion. I also thought that it was really funny, not funny, that one of the thought terminating cliches was that, like, what did she say? Lies are short and sound pretty. And literally she just used 3 short, pretty, folky, wisdomy sounding cliches to end the discussion. And like that was one of the cliches. I don't know. I just think that like these were all very, very clear tactics of coercive control and undue influence on someone's mind and behavior. None of these topics had any like critical thought to them, and all of them can be very easily disproven. Again, please do not go to this creator's page and harass them or talk to them or try to explain they're in a cult or anything like that. Just like indoctrination happens over time, people have to, in order to not be in a cult anymore, not be indoctrinated anymore, notice things on their own, things that they often over years and years put on a shelf until something happens and that shelf breaks, and they have to face all of these things that they have experienced and actually think through them critically. And it's a really difficult and hard process. However, since this person tried to be public or is being public and is trying to share these things on a public forum and it's getting a lot of views, I do think it is appropriate to criticize and to publicly push back on some of these ideas.